Hello everyone, I'm here back in Ardublock again to show you how to move multiple motors on your Barnabas Bot. And I'm starting with what should be a very familiar code to us. It's what we just had to get our left arm moving in the last video. And I want to show you how to go from here to moving multiple motors. So first of all, we see that we have pin 9 selected as these two servo motor blocks. So remember that we have motors on pins 9, pin 10, and pin 11. So I already have made the decision that pin 9 would be the left arm motor. So I intentionally looked at my robot, grabbed the motor wires that are attached to the left arm, and put that into pin 9. So that may not be the case for you. Something I like to do in class is just have them, wire the 3 motors into pins 9, 10, and 11 without checking to see which is which, and having them go through, uploading a code like this, then changing all the numbers to 10, and then uploading that and seeing, which extremity of the robot is affected by that, and doing the same thing for pin 11. And uploading this code, and then after this process, they have some idea of what motor is where and what's doing what. I like to have a little fun doing that. I think it's enjoyable for the most part for the students, and it kind of gives them a better idea of the pin number in the software that we're coding is actually going to affect the hardware of our robot. After going through that process, if you choose to do that, the question is, how would I program multiple motors to move in one single Ardublock code? So the way we would do that, if we consider we need 2 servo blocks to get repeated motion for a single motor, I could say, all right, well, if I have 2 motors I want to move, I probably need 4 servo blocks. And if I have 3 motors I want to move, I probably need 6 servo blocks. And that's, of course, if I want them to move over and over and over, if I want repeated motion. So they can easily go back into pins and grab more servo blocks, go into controls, grab more delay blocks, and build out their code a little more. Or you can right-click here and choose to clone. So now I have an exact clone of all of that stuff right there. And all I would need to do is say, all right, I'm going to change from pin 9, because we already have pin 9 moving, to pin 10. And then maybe I'd like to change the angles a little as well, right? Maybe I don't want every motor doing exactly the same thing. Who knows? So there's pin 10. Now notice if I clone again from here, I get everything, which I don't want that much. I just want to clone from right here, and it'll clone everything beneath it. So now I have another set of pin 10s, which I think I'll change to pin 11. And then once again, maybe I can switch things up a little bit with the angles, which you don't have to do. You just need to make sure that each pair of servo motors has different angle. I'm sorry, each pair of servo blocks has different angles. So both of the pin 11 servo blocks have 2 different angles. Each of the pin 10 servo blocks have 2 different angles. Each of the pin 9 servo blocks have 2 different angles. All right, so why don't we upload this and we'll check out and see what our robot does. All right. All right, so here's our robot. You can see it moving 1 motor at a time, but ultimately able to move all 3 motors. So I'd actually like to jump back to Ardublock for a little bit to show you guys how to move all of the motors simultaneously. Okay, so here we are back in Ardublock with the code we just uploaded to our robot, and we just saw it working. We saw that it moved all 3 of our motors 1 at a time. So the question is, how could I get all 3 of the motors to move simultaneously all at once? So you just need to remember that the delay blocks are what more or less separate the other blocks of code. So while the Arduino is not technically doing multiple things at once, it's doing them so close together that you wouldn't be able to tell without the use of a delay block. So for example, servo 9, servo 10, so these first two blocks, those two actions are going to happen so close together that they appear simultaneous to us. So we can continue this trend by just separating things out, getting rid of a lot of these delays, and then splitting our servos in half. So we have 3 servos on one side, 3 servos on the other, always making sure to have a delay underneath to make sure that we allow some amount of time for those actions to occur. And if you'll notice the way I've organized these blocks, I have a pin 9, pin 10, and pin 11 block on one side, and I have a pin 9, pin 10, and pin 11 block on the other side. So I just need to make sure that any of the commands that are designating one specific motor are split up. So I can't have 2 pin 9s together, because then it's trying to do 2 things to the same motor at once. That's a bit of a problem. So instead, making sure I have, 1 9 on this side, 1 9 on this side. This should help me get there. All right, why don't we upload this really quick, and let's just see how this works out. All right, so you can clearly see our robot moving all 3 of its motors, just as we intended it to. So remember that we did that just by making sure that a couple of the servo motor blocks were together between delays. So having more than one servo block before having a delay. That's about all I have for you guys today. I hope to see you in the next video.